So, you want to get into aviation, but you don't have the money to get a pilot's license. There is still a whole corner of flying open to you, and that world is ultralights. In this video, we are going to look at 20 best aircraft you can fly without a license. So under the FAA, these aircraft fall under Part 103 rule, meaning they are not regulated as aircraft and are exempt from aircraft rules by the FAA. They can't weigh more than 254 pounds, fly faster than 55 knots, and only the pilot can be the sole occupant. Even though you don't need a license and medical, it is still a terrible idea to try and fly one of these with zero training. With that out of the way, let's get into the list. Number 1. Milholland Legal Eagle. If you want a classic vintage-style home built that still sneaks in under Part 103, the Milholland Legal Eagle is the one to look at. Leonard Milholland designed it from day one to be legal as an ultralight. So it is a single-seater with a very simple structure, and when you build it with care, it comes in under the 254-pound empty weight limit. Most builders hang a small half VW engine on the nose, usually in the 28 to 40 horsepower range, which sips fuel while you loop around the pattern at 30 miles per hour. The airplane has an open cockpit and a parasol wing, so you sit out in the breeze with nothing much around you. Just that clean wind in the face kind of flying. Number 2. If you want a purpose-built Part 103 machine with more of a real airplane feel, the Aerolite 103 is a good example. It was designed from scratch in 1997 to fit under the ultralight rules, but it still gives you a lot of the features you see in certified airplanes. You get a yoke for pitch and roll instead of a joystick, proper rudder pedals, tricycle landing gear, and even flaps. There are several engine choices, from the 28 horsepower Hirth F33 up to the 64 horsepower MZ202, so you can tailor performance to what you want. In terms of price, a brand new Aerolite will run you about $20,000 for a quick build kit and around $30,000 to $35,000 for a fully assembled airplane, depending on engine and options. It has built a solid track record over the years and works well as a first step into fixed-wing ultralight flying. The third airplane on our list is the Quicksilver MX103. If you look at ultralights that really broke into the mainstream, the Quicksilver sits near the top. It first appeared in the late 1970s as a simple weight-shift hang glider, then picked up landing gear and proper control surfaces as the ultralight boom took off in the 1980s. The current Part 103 version is the Quicksilver MX103, built around a 50 horsepower Hirth F23 with a completely open cockpit, a side-mounted control stick, and a very long service history in the ultralight world. You can buy a brand new factory-built MX for around $19,000 or go hunting in the used market where decent examples can show up for as little as $3,500. Number 4. Fisher FP202 Koala. If you want an ultralight that feels much more like a tiny cub than a bare open-frame machine, the Fisher FP202 Koala fits that role nicely. It was designed in 1981 with the FAR Part 103 market in mind, and in a compliant ultralight setup, it comes in at about 250 pounds empty, with a 5-gallon fuel capacity, a top-level speed of around 60 miles per hour, and a stall speed of about 26 miles per hour, which keeps it within Part 103 limits. The airplane uses a wood airframe with fabric covering, a strut-braced wing, and tail dragger gear that gives it a real grass strip personality. A lightweight two-stroke, such as the 28 horsepower Rotax 277, is one of the classic ways to keep it in true Part 103 territory. Its big appeal is that it gives you a much more conventional airplane feel without leaving the no-license ultralight world. Number 5 is the Kolb Firefly. If you want a sportier ultralight with really sharp handling, the Kolb Firefly sits right in that space. It traces its roots back to Homer Kolb's 1970s Kolb Flyer, and over several rounds of redesign, that core idea turned into the Firefly. You get folding strut-braced wings, tail dragger gear, and a 40 to 50 horsepower engine on the back, so it has plenty of punch for an ultralight. The kit is still available today, and a realistic budget for a brand new Firefly with engine is now in the mid-$20,000 range, depending on how you equip it. It costs more than some of the other Part 103 options, but the climb, cruise, and control feel are on another level. Number 6. Aeromarine Merlin Lite. If you want an ultralight that feels more like a tiny personal airplane than a simple tube and fabric frame, the Aeromarine Merlin Lite fits that brief. It is a single-seat, all-metal design that has been trimmed and refined so it can meet Part 103 when you pair it with the right engine and equipment. You sit inside a real cockpit with doors, in a surprisingly roomy cabin for one, under a wing that is shaped for clean, low-drag cruise. With a small 4-stroke or an electric motor up front, the Merlin Lite can stay inside the ultralight limits while giving you the look and handling of a conventional light airplane instead of a folding chair with wings. Number 7. Benson B8 Gyrocopter. To step away from fixed wings and into rotary worlds, a good starting point is the Benson B8 Gyrocopter. Igor Bensen came up with this little gyroplane in the 1950s, built around a 72-horsepower McCulloch engine that first lived in military target drones. The propeller pushes the machine forward, and the oncoming airflow spins the rotor, so the rotor is not driven by the engine. That setup lets the gyroplane fly very slowly and come down almost vertically while still under full control, which gives you a big safety margin if the engine quits. Benson as a company is long gone, but the plans are still out there and plenty of used examples change hands. On top of that, several related gyroplanes such as the Butterfly and the Gyrobee are built to fit under Part 103. Number 8. Challenger 103. The Challenger 103 is the pure Part 103 version of the Quad City Challenger family. It keeps the familiar tube and fabric high-wing layout with a semi-enclosed cockpit, pusher prop, and strut-braced wings, but trimmed down everywhere to stay under the 254-pound empty weight cap. Most other Challengers are flown as experimental airplanes, but if you stick to the defined Challenger 103 setup and build it carefully, it qualifies as a true Part 103 ultralight that you can fly with no license at all. Number 9. Mosquito Air. If you want something that looks outrageously cool and can lift straight out of a backyard, the Mosquito Air personal helicopter is the obvious toy. It is as minimal as a helicopter gets, with a completely open cockpit, a 60-horsepower MZ202 engine, and true vertical takeoff and landing just like a full-size machine. Even though the design looks simple, the kit is going to cost on the order of $50,000 to $60,000, with fully finished examples often higher. On paper, you do not need any formal training to fly a Mosquito, but if you buy one from the factory, they will not hand over the rotor blades until you can show at least 10 hours of helicopter instruction. That makes sense, because when you have a set of rotor blades spinning a few feet from your head, you really want to know what you're doing. Number 10. CGS Hawk Ultra. If you want something that looks like a proper light sport airplane but still lives inside Part 103, the CGS Hawk Ultra is about as close as you can get. It is a single-seat, high-wing pusher with strut-braced wings, a pod-style cockpit, and classic tube and fabric structure. In its lightest setup with a small 2-stroke engine and very basic equipment, you can keep the empty weight under the 254-pound limit. The Hawk family has been flying for decades, so the handling is well known, support is established, and parts are easy to come by, which makes the Hawk Ultra a very familiar and confidence-building way to step into ultralight flying. Number 10. Hummel UltraCruiser. The UltraCruiser is one of the best-known all-metal fixed-wing ultralights and was designed by Morry Hummel back in 1999. It runs on a 4-stroke Volkswagen Beetle engine cut in half and converted for aircraft use. The half VW engine makes 28 to 45 horsepower depending on setup. That engine is quite rare in modern ultralights, and the lower RPM gives it a deep, classic sound that really stands out. With tail dragger gear and a low wing layout, the UltraCruiser looks sharp on the ground and feels lively in the air. A full UltraCruiser kit is about $26,000 without the engine, and the plans run about $400. Number 12. Team Minimax 103. If you want a very small airplane that still feels like a proper low-wing home-built with a real seat, the Team Minimax 103 fits that slot. It is a single-seat, wood and fabric ultralight that was drawn up from day one to meet Part 103 as long as you keep the build light and simple. Most examples fly with a small two-stroke in the 28 to 35 horsepower range, which gives you short takeoff runs and easy pattern speeds while staying under the 55-knot top speed limit. You sit in a snug little cockpit with classic tail dragger gear and quick, precise controls. So the MAX 103 feels more like a scaled-down sport plane than a basic lawn chair with wings. Number 13. Phantom X1. Another standout ultralight is the Phantom X1, often called the Phantom Classic, which is famous for having a very strong airframe. It is a high-wing tractor layout design that is stressed to around 9 positive G and 6 negative G, so it has plenty of margin for hard maneuvering. That strength has made it a favorite platform for aerobatics, and you can find plenty of videos of pilots throwing the Phantom around the sky. Most are powered by a 40 to 50 horsepower engine, and a kit with engine comes in at about $11,500. Number 14. Team AirBike. If you want to feel like you are riding a flying motorcycle, the Team AirBike comes very close. This is a single-seat open-frame ultralight where you sit out in the airflow on a narrow bike-style fuselage with your feet up on the rudder pedals like pegs. The wings are simple fabric-covered surfaces, the landing gear is basic tail dragger, and a small two-stroke engine in the 28 to 40 horsepower range keeps it inside Part 103 if you watch the weight. The view is almost completely unobstructed. The structure is about as straightforward as it gets, and the whole experience is pure seat-of-the-pants flying. Number 15. Ultraflight Lazair. If you want to fly a twin-engine airplane without needing a license, the Ultraflight Lazair is the way into that world. It only had a short production run from 1979 to 1984, but there are still plenty of examples around on the used market. Early Lazairs flew with two tiny 5.5 horsepower chainsaw engines, which was still enough to move that long 36-foot wing and make use of its 12-to-1 glide ratio. Later versions upgraded to a pair of 9.5 horsepower Rotax 185s and added more refined features like a floor-mounted control stick, small tail wheels on the inverted V-tail, and toe brakes on the main wheels. As ultralights go, it is a genuine classic from the early 1980s wave of home-built ultralights. Number 16. Belite Superlight. If you want to see how far you can strip an airplane down and still have something you can fly, the Belite Superlight is a good benchmark. It uses a very light tube and fabric frame with carbon and other composites in key areas to save every possible pound, which lets it qualify for Part 103 when you pick the right engine and keep the options lean. Most builders fit a small two-stroke in the 28 to 35 horsepower range, which gives you short takeoff runs, easy climb, and very low fuel burn. You sit in an open cockpit behind a simple panel with light, quick controls, so the Superlight ends up as a pure low and slow play airplane, best suited to calm evenings and quiet grass strips. Number 17. Powered Paraglider. If you want something you can both fly and haul around in the back of a car, powered paragliding is the option that fits that brief. Instead of a fixed airframe, you wear a paramotor on your back, usually with an engine in the 14 to 30 horsepower range, and fly under a paraglider wing that packs down into a backpack. The concept grew out of powered hang gliding and shifted over to paragliders as they became popular in the late 1980s. You can launch and land on foot for maximum simplicity, or use a small wheeled trike if you prefer more of an aircraft feel. The trade-offs are low cruise speeds and a big sensitivity to turbulence, since you are hanging under a soft wing. Wing designs and motor setups vary quite a bit depending on the kind of flying you want to do. From gentle evening cruises to more adventurous cross-country work. The sport is expanding fast, and a new beginner package typically runs in the $7,000 to $10,000 range. Number 18. Zing Ultralight. If you like simple wood and fabric home builds, the Zing Ultralight is a nice throwback that still fits under Part 103. It is a single-seat parasol wing design with an open cockpit, basic tail dragger gear, and a straightforward structure you can build in a small workshop. Most builders hang a light two-stroke in the 28 to 35 horsepower range on the nose, which keeps the empty weight down while still giving you reasonable climb and cruise. The finished airplane is an honest low and slow flyer that feels a lot like 1930s barnstorming, just scaled down to ultralight size and trimmed to match the modern Part 103 rules. Number 19. Cloudhopper Balloon. For a more classic drifting kind of adventure, the Cloudhopper balloon is in its own category. It is a single-seat hot air balloon where you are strapped into a harness instead of standing in a basket. Under FAA rules, balloons count as unpowered aircraft, so a Cloudhopper sits under a 155-pound limit rather than the 254-pound Part 103 cap. The pilot harness can swivel all the way around, so you can face any direction you like for launch and landing, and typical endurance is around an hour and a half. You do need a ground crew because you go where the wind goes and you will not be flying back to your starting point under your own power. That makes it the least controllable aircraft on this list, but also one of the most peaceful, with long stretches of quiet as you float along wherever the air mass is moving. There are a couple of current makers building Cloudhopper-style balloons, and a new setup runs in the $20,000 range. Number 20. Just Aircraft Just 103 Solo. If you like the look of a bush plane but want it scaled down to ultralight size, the Just Aircraft Just 103 Solo delivers that feel inside Part 103. It is a single-seat, high-wing tail dragger with strut-braced wings and stout landing gear that looks right at home on grass or farm strips. In its lightest setup, with a small two-stroke engine and very simple avionics, you can keep the empty weight under the 254-pound limit. You sit in an open or semi-enclosed cockpit with a clear view out, flying something that feels like a mini backcountry stall machine while still counting as a true no-license ultralight. So that's it for today's video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. It goes a long way for us.